There's just something about them that like almost makes me uncomfortable. You know why? It's because the pictures kind of look phallic. It feels a little in my face, you know what I mean? Hey guys! Today we're going to keep it really casual and I'm just going to be telling you about some of the most popular common houseplants that I just personally do not like. And I use the phrase do not like very loosely because I do actually like some of these, but some of them don't get along with me. So do not like is a very loose term. I hope you find this video I was gonna say helpful, but I don't think it'll really be helpful in any way. I hope you find it something. I hope you find this video to be something you can tolerate to watch while you do dishes or something. Okay, let's get into the plants. Plant number one is actually a Fiddle Leaf Fig. Okay, don't get me wrong. I think Fiddle Leaf Fig is a very fine looking plant, and I think it's a plant that actually gets a lot of us into plant collecting. I remember when I first started keeping plants, they were super, super popular, and they still kind of are, just not to the same level. I personally find them to be very awkward, especially if you're starting out with the smaller fiddle leaf plants, which is typically what is most affordable and easy to find. I do think the very big ones are beautiful. That's just why Fiddle Leaf Fig isn't really like a plant I love, and I probably will never own a fiddle leaf again unless I'm able to afford a giant one, which probably not because they're pricey. They are pricey. But yeah, and I don't know, I just also find them kind of annoying as far as plant care goes. They drop leaves, they brown, they get little red spots on them, which is actually from overwatering, and the red spots will disappear, but I just don't like the look of it. It makes me stressed out that I have spider mites or something. On to the second plant is actually one I do have in my collection right now, and it is a Philodendron Birkin. When I was thinking about plants I don't actually really like, I was kind of shocked with myself when Philodendron Birkin popped into my little noggin because I have one, and probably 2 years ago I was obsessed with this plant. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so cute. But I don't know, from my experience in keeping it, I just find it to be a slow grower. I do really like the different kind of variegation, like the stripy white variegation it gets. It's very unique from a lot of different plants. The longer I've had it, the less and less I like the plant. It's just kind of a boring one to me. Don't get me wrong, I do think it's beautiful. Keeping it isn't as rewarding as I thought it would be. And you guys know how much I love like watching a plant unfurl a new leaf, but I don't know, my Philodendron Birkin just doesn't do that as often as I would like it to. There are definitely other philodendrons I prefer, like most philodendrons I prefer to the Birkin. So yeah, I don't me no like. The third plant is another one I've had up until recently, and it is a Philodendron Lickety split, which, don't get me wrong, I do find the Lickety split to be extremely beautiful, rewarding, and fun to keep. They really quickly mature and start to put out giant leaves, in my experience anyway. I had a pretty large one. The reason I don't like this plant, especially for my indoor collection, is it got thrips so much. Like, it was one of my most thrip-prone plants by far, hands down. I never really had a problem with thrips, and I still really don't have issues with thrips except for a few exceptions on plants here and there. We'll get into that a little bit later on in this list. But this one, it seemed like no matter what I was doing, I was treating it the same as all my other plants, fighting the pests as I would any other plants, and measures that have worked for other plants weren't working for the Lickety split. The thrips just gravitated toward this thing, so I ultimately decided to put it outside and not bring it back in through the winter, just to protect the integrity of the rest of my plants. Fortunately, I only have a couple of plants that have developed thrip since then, but they've been much easier to treat than the Lickety split. Like, if you have a Lickety split, let me know if it gets thrips all the time. So although I do find this plant beautiful, I don't like it for my own personal collection. Since we're here talking about thrip, let's talk about Alocasia Fried Egg, which is another plant. I do actually have this one in my collection right now. I will put it on screen, thrip damage and all. I'm at my wit's end with this plant. Before I was having issues with it putting out a new leaf and then dropping the oldest one. I finally figured that situation out. It didn't need to be repotted, despite what a lot of people think what a lot of people were telling me. It just needed to be watered and fertilized a little bit more frequently than I was. But now it developed thrips. So I had to cut all the leaves back, and it's just a nub, a sad little nub. So I don't know, like again, this is another one I do find to be really beautiful, but I don't like fighting thrip. Like thrip is my least favorite pest to get because once you get them, it does seem pretty difficult to get rid of them. Although I do think I have it under control on the fried egg. So maybe this will change. If anything happens to this fried egg, I don't see myself getting another one because from day one of me getting this plant, I've gone through different issues. Like there have been different phases of issues with this plant. With the exception of like a few months span, I've just had issue after issue with this plant, and it's probably just a personal problem. Maybe I'm not a very good plant keeper. Maybe me and fried egg just don't get along. My plant keeping style doesn't mesh well with fried egg, but yeah, we don't get along. And I do find, again, the plant to be beautiful, but not in my collection. All right, so next up are African violets, which these are ones I was really, really obsessed with in the beginning of my plant keeping. I do like them still. Well, okay, I don't like them. I do find them very cute still, but I don't like keeping them. I don't like keeping them personally. I don't know, I just don't like their care requirements. They're really cute, especially when they bloom, but when they're not blooming, I just personally find them to be quite boring. And I mean, they don't really bloom constantly. Well, I had one that bloomed actually for a long time span, but I don't know, once the blooms die off, I just find them to be really boring. So it was which is that bad of me to say? I don't know, they're just like kind of a flat plant that the flower shoots up out of the middle. So then once those flowers are gone, it's just kind of another flat plant. This is kind of the same reason I don't really keep succulents. I just get kind of bored of them, which is terrible of me to say, and then I forget about them and neglect them. Like they're just other plants more at the top of my brain. I mean, my brain can manage taking care of a lot of plants, but if I get kind of bored of a plant, then I just kind of forget about it for some reason, which is so bad of me to say. Don't be mad at me. It is a character flaw of mine. I'm working on it, okay? Next up are ferns, and you guys know, maybe if you've been watching my channel for a while, you guys know I've tried to keep ferns many, many times because I do find them so, so beautiful when they're thriving in other people's collections and homes under their care, because under my care, they are just a dried up, ugly mess. I kill them so fast. So I don't know, it really does something to my plant keeping self-esteem. So I just, as much as I would love to be able to keep a fern alive and happy, and I'm talking more Boston fern, maidenhair fern, because I do have a blue oil fern, and I have one other one, but I can't remember what it is. Neo something. I do have a couple kinds of ferns that are fine, but those like more common ones, can't do it. We'll never do it again. They're beautiful, but we don't like each other. All right, next up, string of plants, which there are a few exceptions to this. I do still really love string of hearts, and I have string of hearts, both the regular one and the variegated one. And I do also like, I guess I'm more talking like string of dolphins, string of bananas, string of beans. I don't know, there's string of everything, okay? I really don't like those ones. I just think they look kind of weird. And okay, string of pearls I do find very beautiful, and I do actually have string of pearls in my own collection. I do have string of pearls right now that I do actually really like, but if these ones were to die, I don't think I would ever spend money on them again. They're just, I don't know. I'm not obsessed with them like I am with like string of hearts. String of hearts is definitely the exception to this rule, but I don't know. I just don't like the way they look. And you guys know how much I love a hanging plant like that. They look kind of like weeds to me. I don't know. There's just something about them. They don't look like weeds because sometimes they are cute. There's just something about them that I just don't love. So yeah, nothing against them personally. Onward. So is kind of one, again, I was obsessed with for a long, long time, and I actually collected for a while, and it is caladium. I think caladium are some of the most beautiful plants out there. I really, really do. And they do take some time to get to know like their care needs, because their care needs are a little bit different from like most other houseplants, in my experience anyway. But once you get to know them, they are pretty like straightforward, with the exception of their dormancy period. So I'm really not a fan of plants that go into dormancy anymore. I loved my caladiums, but having to remember to put them into dormancy, go through that whole process, and then bring them back out of it was just kind of something I wasn't loving care-wise. And you guys know my like channel motto is plant care should be, we want to keep plant care a hobby, not a chore. And my caladiums going into dormancy were just kind of something I was like dreading all year long. So it was kind of always in the back of my mind, because that's a plant I really hyper fixated on because I love them so much. I think they're so vibrant and beautiful. The leaf texture is just billowy and something else. I love them. I love them. I hate the dormancy of them. So I just decided that there's something that their dormancy period was something I didn't want to deal with anymore. So ultimately that made me decide that I don't really like them, even as beautiful as I think they are. I didn't think it was worth the stress that was like always lingering in the back of my mind about when this plant was going to go into dormancy. You know, I don't know. Let me know if that makes sense to any of you. Maybe some of you will understand. Let me know if you understand. Please, if you understand, let me know. Next up are Dracaena, and this is another one. I have a Lucky Bamboo Dracaena in my collection right now, which I really do like. It's not my favorite by any means. It's kind of a little bit boring to me, but it's so easy that it's like fine. I've been able to manage it, even though I kind of forget about it for a while. Most Dracaena, I find them kind of boring. Is that bad? Is that mean? I mean, they probably think I'm boring too. That's okay. That's fine. It's okay to not get along with everybody. And again, this kind of has an exception because I do, you know, those huge, like 8-foot tall ones people on Instagram post sometimes in their houses and they look so cool. Like, I do really like the look of the huge ones when there's just more substantial of something to look at. But just Dracaena in general, I don't really like the look of them. And although they're pretty easy to care for, I don't know, just not a big fan, you know? That's all I can really say. All right, this next one is another one that I also have had in my collection, and I have never had since because we didn't get along, first of all. Second of all, I actually don't think they're even that good looking of a plant, personally. Is that me? Like, is that weird to say? It's just not a plant that I'm personally very attracted to. And even when I see other people post their plant, like, I'm like proud of them. I'm like, wow, you were able to grow that thing and keep it alive for a long time. Good for you. But I just don't have the desire to have one because I really just don't like the look of them, you know? Like, okay, I haven't even said the plant that I'm speaking of is a banana tree. Musa something. And I'm not sure if these are like actual banana trees that can grow bananas out in the wild, but I know a lot of people like to keep them in their plant collections, and that's just not for me. I don't like their care requirements, and I don't like really their growth pattern or the way their leaves look. So yeah, me no like. Going to be kind of an unpopular opinion, I don't know, maybe. But it's actually pitcher plants. So I may, and I'm apprehensive about saying this one because I may get one of these down the road because Ryan, my husband, does think they're really, really cool. And whenever we're at the plant nursery and we see one, he's like, oh, we should get one. And I'm like, oh, let me do some research on it. But so I do think we may end up getting one just because Ryan is very interested in them. And if we do, then I will take care of it. But for as cool as I think they are, where they have like the little pitcher that catches, you know, their nutrients, I think that's so cool and unique in a plant. I just don't like the way they look. Like, okay, it's not that I don't like the way they look because I do think they're really cool and like kind of weird plants, which is normally what I gravitate toward, but I don't know, there's just something about them that like almost makes me uncomfortable when I look at them. The pictures look a little phallic, I'm gonna be honest. Maybe that's what's throwing me off. It feels a little in my face, you know what I mean? I don't know, okay? We may end up getting one down the road, but I just right now, like me personally, I don't really have an interest in them. Again, if Ryan wants to get one at some point, we will get one and I will care for the thing to the best of my ability. And again, they're really cool, but there's just something about them that I don't love. Something uncomfortable. they feel kind of alien or something, but not in the way that I normally like. I don't know, but yeah, that's the last plant on this list. And if you know what I'm talking about with the pitcher plants, please try to put it into words, because I obviously cannot, because the words I talk ain't no good words. Those are popular common plants that I just really don't like. Let me know what popular plant varieties you don't like in the comments down below. I'm really interested to see like what you're going to have on your list. If you're going to have some of my favorites on your list, I really want to know. So yeah, please leave a comment. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!